Hello, welcome to floor 24. As you can see in the description and the title of the video, part 13 didn't go well, but we'll get to that later on. So for now, I just wanted to talk about a few things. Number one is the music. So for the intro and the outro for this series, I used a piece of the Excalibur 2050-55. I think that's right, 2555 AD soundtrack, and that was a game on the PlayStation 1 that I remember playing back in the day when it first came out. I don't know what year it came out, but definitely 90s I'm sure, and it was absolutely awful. It was definitely one of the worst games I think I've ever played. However, the soundtrack is actually pretty good, and it fitted really well into this. I remember when I had the game, I would just put it into my CD player and just listen to it on the way to tech and stuff. So I can't remember why I or how I came up with the idea or thought back onto when I first sort of heard it or sort of thought it would be good for this, but I did anyway. And I thought when I listened to it again and looked at the visuals of Dungeon of the Endless, I just thought it fitted perfectly. So it sort of worked out quite nicely in the end, and I've put some tracks just in the background of this just to have some noise. Bit of an issue recording this again, unfortunately. I sort of messed up the audio, so there's no audio for this. There's no game sound effects or anything like that. I could have left it in, but it was absolutely awful. I tried to record some live voiceover for it, and it didn't really work. I forgot to drop the audio of the game noise as well as the FX, and yeah, so it didn't really work, and it was just a bit of a mess. But sure, you know, I've been learning as I go, so it's just more things to check before I start recording and bits and pieces like that. So there you go. So I didn't make it past floor 24. Unfortunately, you'll see later on in the video, I ran into a bit of an unfortunate encounter with quite a lot of enemies, and they just sort of seemed to keep spawning. So I couldn't kill them pretty much fast enough, and I couldn't heal the guys fast enough because I ran out of food resources. So there you go. Not much more to say on it. It's definitely the highest I've got. Anyway, I don't think I'd got past floor 17 before. So this was a really good run, and I don't know if it's just that I was concentrating more because I knew I was recording it, or that, I don't know, just a time away from the game has meant that I can look at things a bit better and just take it a bit slower. But it's definitely worked this time anyway, and I'm really happy with that run. I don't feel the need to redo it or have another crack at it. I'm not saying I won't. I might just do it and not record it, because as I said in the previous video, it's just not the right game, I think, for me to start recording and trying to do like a let's play series on. So hopefully the other videos I do going forward will be much better, and that's off the back of learning from the mistakes that I made in this game. But overall, I'd say if you haven't played Dungeon of the Endless, you know, I'm going back to, I think it was video 6, I did my first bit of commentary where I was talking about how good Dungeon of the Endless was, or is. I definitely recommend it. If you've been watching the videos at all, or if you can take one thing away from all of this, it's definitely give this game a go. Even if you're not too sure if it's for you. I mean, it's quite cheap, I'm sure, on Steam. But definitely try and support the studios, Amplitude Studios, because I don't think they're the biggest developer in the world, but it's definitely a studio that I have a lot of time for, and I appreciate all the work that they do. So it's definitely worth a punt, I would say. So there you go. I'm going to leave a link in the description as well for the music and where I got the music from. It was from another YouTuber, and I think his name was Dark Biscuit, possibly. I don't think he's very active on YouTube anymore, but his the quality of the recordings he got from the PlayStation 1 disc to get the Excalibur soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. So I definitely recommend, if you want to listen to some more of the soundtrack, I'll leave a link in the description to his channel, and you can you can listen to them, and there's some really, it's really random, but I mean the game had these sort of quiet sort of ambient tracks, and it also had then like a drum and bass soundtrack as well, so it was really bizarre. It sort of flirts between a medieval game and a sci-fi game, so it's definitely a bit of an odd one. If you're intrigued, I would definitely say check out some gameplay footage, and I'm sure I'll link something in the description so you can see what that game looks like, just to see how they utilised the soundtrack and the ambient sort of music and whatnot. The voice acting was very, very funny. I definitely recommend checking out some of the badly scripted voice segments. So one thing I didn't really touch on was the multiplayer component of the game. There's a multiplayer mode in this game. It's co-op, and similar to the single player, you start at floor 1 and you just work your way up. You can do all of the escape pods. There's no sort of, it's not like they've built these specific sort of multiplayer maps. They're all the same, and you can do it up to I think 4 people, possibly. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure 4 people can play the game, and you take it level by level, similar to the single player obviously, but you all sort of can share resources amongst each other. So you can actually donate resources to other players. So what I've sort of tended to do in the past is, if I'm playing with some friends, we generally sort of designate somebody as the builder, and then we designate somebody to sort of go out and open doors, and then make it back, and then the rest are just either operating or defending. So it can be really, really good, fun experience, and also really frustrating when somebody just decides to build stuff. If it's not really a game you can play with a randomer, so if you don't have anyone on your friends list that has it, you'll find it probably a lot more difficult to play with somebody who you can't communicate with in game. I'm not too sure if there's a native microphone setting in the game, so I'm not too sure if you can just chat to people. I'm pretty sure you can perhaps type to people at least. I do recall having some kind of chat function in game, so that might be a way of doing it, but it's definitely easier when you're talking to somebody that you play with regularly. So I would highly recommend it anyway. So I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm just gonna let the floor play itself out, and you can have a look and see how the 4 of them go down in a valiant blaze of glory. I will say that I took my eye basically off the screen, looked back, couldn't believe that basically I'd lost one of the heroes, and the rest of them then started getting hammered, and I was really close to just aborting the game to see if I could salvage it, but I sort of thought that the best thing to do is just let it play out, and I figured that you can't, it should just be a natural sort of playthrough. I shouldn't try and sort of cheat to get out of situations, and because I'd lost one hero, if I'd restarted I would have still only had the 3 heroes, so it was meant to be. So there you go. Anyway, I'll leave you with the sounds of Excalibur and the final bits of Dungeon of the Endless.